Welcome to Currents. I'm Carol Lilly, Director of Community Main Street. Today we are here to talk about Artapalooza, an outdoor festival of the arts. With me today I have Barbara Brown, who is the chairperson of the volunteer committee, Emily Yadoff, who is the events and promotions coordinator for Community Main Street, and Gretchen Boehm, who is a merchant in downtown Cedar Falls who has kitchen essentials and has been a longtime participant in Artapalooza. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Good to be here.
So Emily, I'm going to start off with you. Please tell us a little bit about when and where Artapalooza is going to be held this year.
Well, Artapalooza on Main will be held on Saturday, September 6th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in downtown Cedar Falls, and we actually close the Main Street from 1st to 4th Street, and then all the activity takes place actually on Main Street and on the sidewalk.
Barbara, you've been involved with Artapalooza for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history? Has it always been on Main Street, and how this kind of got started, please?
Well, we initially started out with an art crawl, and it was downtown Cedar Falls art crawl because we had a number of galleries and businesses that sold art products, and so we thought, you know, other communities had done it, that we would do that. And it happened to be in December. This first year was really, really great. The second year it was 19 below zero. Our committee decided maybe we should do something another time of the year, so it was suggested that maybe we do something in September, October. And so we talked to people, businesses downtown, and committee people discussed what we would like to call this. And so we went through a number of names, and we finally came up with Artapalooza on Main, putting the art in it and yet giving it some fun with it, along with it. And so that was what we did. And our first one was 9 years ago, and we've just been building on it ever since. And it's a very good regional art show downtown Cedar Falls to showcase downtown Cedar Falls and just what we're capable of not only putting on as an art show, but what our businesses and can do to make it even more welcome than it already is on a day-to-day basis.
So Barbara, you mentioned in the beginning days it was the retailers and merchants that were there. Are those who the artists are? Or maybe Emily, you can tell me a little bit about that process and who is showing the art?
Well, the artists, I guess, are the ones that are on sort of display. You know, they're the ones exhibiting their artwork. And we've had several artists that have been there from the beginning. And Barbara, you would know more than that. I've only been involved for the last couple of years. But
yeah, people come back. It's a juried art show. That was one of the things that we definitely wanted to have, was to be a juried art show. And that not only picked who we wanted to have down there, but also it gave it a certain class, so to speak, so that people would really want to not only exhibit, but would want to come down and see what was possible to purchase on Main Street.
So it's not just the merchants downtown that have art out on the sidewalks, it's other artists from throughout the area.
It's a regional art show. We have them coming from other states. They may or may not have a contact here in Cedar Falls. They may or may not have gone to UNI or gone to school here or have family here. But that is a lot of the reason that people do come back and want to display their art, because they have a contact here in Cedar Falls.
Emily, how many artists are in the show this year?
we have just over 50 artists this year. So that's a pretty good number. That's usually about the number that we have. 14 of them are actually new artists this year, which we're very excited about. So, yeah.
What type of artwork can we find?
We have paper, we have textiles, we have paintings, we have pottery, we have ceramics, we have just the whole printmaking. We have the whole gamut of art that's been juried in, and so it's a real good art experience. So you can start at 1st Street and go to 3rd Street, and you may or may not see the same type of art being presented. And a lot of these artists are very well-known artists. They also display in other festivals around the Midwest or in the South if they go south when they take vacation. So it's a good rounded amount of and experience with public art in Cedar Falls.
Well, great. And Gretchen, can you tell us a little bit then from your perspective as a merchant perspective how the show impacts downtown?
We downtown merchants love Artapalooza. It brings lots of people, lots of families downtown. The merchants participate in a lot of different ways. We sponsor some of the musicians. There's music and entertainment on the street, some of the activities, and a lot of the merchants have art activities outside for children in front of the store. Usually, we've done something, I think, every year. And we have requests to bring it back every time. One year, I think we gave out about 350 to 400 cookies that the children painted.
Oh my goodness! Well, that sounds like quite a positive relationship between the merchants and between the artists and the committee that makes it happen. Back to the artists a little bit, and we will have Jim Kearns with us a little bit later to talk to us about the artist perspective and why he's a returning artist to the show. But Emily, Barbara had mentioned that it's a regional show. Can you tell me a little bit about where some of the artists come from? Or
Yeah, a majority of them are from Iowa, but we do have, some from the surrounding states as well. And I think we have 20 communities that'll be represented from Iowa at the show this year. And something that's kind of cool as well is that a lot of the artists that we have in our show are also from the Cedar Falls and Waterloo area. So it's really a showcase of the artistic talent that's right here in the Cedar Valley.
Well, and I would imagine that some of those regional artists and those artists from other communities also have a following and are inviting their followers to the show, which is a great way then to showcase our downtown area to people from throughout the region in yet another way. So that's a great thing for the merchants and as well. So that sounds like a really great thing to do as you're jurying your show. So
we also have people that come to Artapalooza because they know certain artists are going to be here. And those returning artists, because they do have extremely high quality art, are juried in every year. It's not a given, but they are. And so people come to buy jewelry from a certain jeweler, pots from a certain potter, and that's just what they do. And so that's really a neat deal for people to have this be a destination.
Well, it sounds like you have the artists with the booths, but there's other types of art I know that it's happening too, and that element is a little bit of performance art. Can you tell me a little bit about why it's important to showcase the different variety of art that we have in our community?
Well, art is many forms, as we well know. Downtown Cedar Falls, or in Cedar Falls, we have this Cedar Falls Public Art Committee. And over the years, we have a number of installations on Main Street that we have commissioned from the Public Art Committee. And that fits in real well with Artapalooza, because not only are these art pieces there all the time, but it just supplements the day for Artapalooza. And so we just, the architecture of downtown, the fact that we're a vibrant downtown and have kept it a vibrant downtown makes it very comfortable for the artists to also be here, because they're not standing in front of a number of empty storefronts selling their product. They have a real buy-in to downtown Cedar Falls. So, and we have music, which is also part of art. Sometimes when you're listening to music on the radio or whatever, you may not grasp that, but indeed having art and having music as part of that art experience is extremely important, and we feel it's very important.
So Gretchen, as a merchant, getting involved with the art, with the talent, the children's activities, do you have musical entertainment out up and down the street, or can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
There will be all kinds of musical entertainment on the street. I think the symphony members come and give the children an opportunity to explore instruments. The various stores do things. There will be entertainers on the street. I think that that Artapalooza really contributes a great amount to the quality of life that we have in Cedar Falls, and people look forward to it because it's such a fun and exciting event. We get big crowds, people who are in the stores, who are visiting the artists, who are in the restaurants. it's really a wonderful downtown event.
So Emily, as Gretchen said, there's artists up and down the street. Can you just tell us a little bit about what people will find in the different blocks as far as the entertainment?
Sure. So most of the entertainment will actually be headquartered at the corner of 4th and Main, where we have Santa's Workshop is usually set up in the winter. But that's where the UNI Suzuki School of Music, I believe they will be there, the Cedar Falls High School Band, the UNI Jazz Trio. There's a couple other musical groups that will also be performing down there. And then we have the jazz ensemble, the UNI Jazz Band ensemble will also be there. And then Kirk Eastman and Uncle Chuck will be there as well.
With his imaginary
band. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So there will be a good variety of entertainment down there. We also have some musicians that will be outside Cup of Joe performing. I think Rick Vanderwall will be up there in the 100 block performing in the morning, I think at 10. So there'll be, those are kind of the two music stations, I guess, if you will. And then we have the symphony that will be in the 200 block, the Symphony Instrument Zoo. And then we also have a balloon artist who will be there in the afternoon, which is always very popular with the kids, and he'll be outside Wells Fargo.
If I remember correctly, the balloon artist line is pretty long, so
yes.
He's very popular spot to be. So I really like one thing that you do with Artapalooza is the way you engage the youth also. And we'll talk just real quickly before our break about a new activity that you have planned this year. Barbara, do you want to tell me or Emily a little bit about our new activity?
I'll tell about that.
Okay.
We have an activity for adults that we have carried over this year also. It's called Pastel a Panel. And we have Degas' Blue Dancer, which is a painting of ballet in blue, and it will be, as last year we used Georgia O'Keeffe's Leaves, and this year it'll be the Degas. And there are 12 panels and 12 adults from 15 and up. Each person can get 12 people will have a panel, and they'll pastel that picture on that panel by using a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then draw it, and then it's all put together at the end, and we sell it to help us for the next year.
Mm-hmm. So it's a fundraiser to help continue those art activities for the public. Well, that's a great way to keep the momentum going throughout the year then as well. Well, good.
And we have face painting, and we have small 6x6 pieces of wood that have had blackboard paint put on them, and kids will be able to chalk those and take them home with them. And the Hearst Center is doing a lot of children's activities.
Yes. Well, it sounds like you've taken what was a very popular idea last year with the Pastella panel and then incorporated in the children being able to do a type of panel work too. So as the older patrons could be working on that bigger piece, the children will have a piece that then they can take home too. That's a really neat tie-in and how that all works together. Well, at this time we're going to take a short break and switch things up a little bit. Gretchen, I'd like to thank you for giving us the merchant perspective on how Artapalooza works in our community, and we'll look forward to seeing you, and we will look forward to painted cookies at Kitchen Essentials.
Might be something different this year.
Well, see, even another reason to come check it out, right?
Right.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. Thank you.
We all know that the Cedar Valley is a great place to live and work. And there are many individuals and organizations that are doing their part to improve the quality of life for everyone that calls this their home. On Serving the Valley, we sit down with these service organizations to learn more about different projects and events that need your support. We all need to do our part to help out our community. Tune into Serving the Valley to learn more.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about Artapalooza on Main, an outdoor festival of the arts in downtown Cedar Falls. And I'd like to welcome Jim Kearns to the panel and discussion point with us to talk about the artist perspective of Artapalooza. So again, Jim, thank you for participating and welcome.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Jim, you've participated in Artapalooza for a number of years now. Have you been here since the beginning?
We have, yes. When the show was first talked about, we had a little bit of input into it, and then have supported the show and been fortunate enough to get juried in every year, so yeah, you bet.
Tell me about the jury process. That we talked briefly about that earlier today. Emily, how does that work? Because Jim has mentioned that he was fortunate enough to get juried in. Can you explain that process and how artists do become involved in the show?
So all of our artists are juried into the show, as we've mentioned a couple of times now, and that process can actually start in January. That's when we post the artist application on our website at communitymainstreet.org, and then the artist just fills out the application, they submit photos of their work, and then in June we have a panel of jurors who reviews all of the artist applications, and they decide who gets accepted into the show.
So Jim, you apply year after year then? Once you're in, you still have to apply year after year?
Yes, we do.
And so what makes it appealing? Why keep returning to Artapalooza?
Well, it fits our business model very well in that we live in Cedar Falls. So the travel is minimum, you know, and supporting the local art scene is, we think, critical to round out community. And the Artapalooza, the downtown area, they do such a great job of hospitality. The volunteers are just fantastic. They look after you. If it's hot, they bring you water. The activities for the families, you know, you see all kinds of people. We renew with folks. I went to UNI, and I renew with people that I went to school with. Always somebody stops by and we have a conversation about something that happened back in the late 60s, and we won't talk about it.
That's another show, right?
So Barbara, Jim mentioned the committee and the volunteers. Can you talk a little bit and tell us a little bit about how the day runs and what they bring?
Like Emily says, we start meeting and talking about this a week after Artapalooza is done, and then we have our first real big meeting in April, and by that time the letters have gone out for application. It's online, so people are already starting to get their information into us, and so the morning of Artapalooza, our committee is that we have block captains. We have 3 blocks, so we have block captains, and they meet the artist at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, and help them set up or show them where they're to set up, and makes it very easy for the artists coming in. They may or may not have been here before, and they probably will not have the same spot as they had before. So it's easy for committee members to help them get associated and set up downtown. And then we have a little breakfast that we pass out that Paneras gives us, and then we have a lunch that Hy-Vee provides for us, and as Jim says, we have water and other things during the day, and a Cup of Joe gives us coupons for the coffee for artists for them. And then as of last year and this year, Scratch Cupcakes is doing a special Artapalooza cupcake just for us. And it's an Awareness Day cupcake, so that be sure to go into Scratch Cupcake on Main Street and the parkade and get a Artapalooza cupcake.
Well, it sounds like the committee provides a lot of incentive for the artists to come, in addition to the fact that it's just a great show where they can show their wares. Jim, we've got some stuff in front of that you have been kind enough to bring. Can you tell us a little bit about these pieces and a little bit about what you do, please?
Absolutely. I brought kind of a representative section of our functional wear. I work at stoneware and porcelain temperatures, which is like 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, so they're all very safe for use and everything. And there's a slab plate right in front of you, Carol, there, that's a slab thrown, right, with some brush work on it, and that's actually a Chino glaze on there. Very popular glaze. The piece here, the bowl, is incised, quite a bit carved. That's a copper and cobalt combination that gives you that kind of a nice purple, and became a very nice scrap glaze, you know, which means that when it was gone, I always have a bucket of stuff I'm pouring into, and I use that glaze, and I still do, but it's running low. And then a teapot, and of course the teapots are safe to use, but they're almost more decorative in nature, and it's something that most potters, functional potters anyway, enjoy making. I certainly do anyway.
Mm-hmm. So with this type of ware, I imagine setup is quite a production to get your booth ready every year. And
it is indeed.
Shows.
And my wife Santha and I partner up on that. We did our first show in 1968. So we've kind of got it down to where we work together very well, and if we introduce somebody else in to help, it's nice. And sometimes it slows us down, but that's okay. You know, you always appreciate the help. And it's more than a show to us. We've heard the term show many times. You know, it's a sale. We want to display our work, but we want to sell our work too. The people that come back to a successful art festival come back because it's a chance not only to show their work, but also interact with the public and then have that response to their work and hopefully make some sales as well.
So you want to come with a lot of things, but go home with not very many.
The idea, yeah, unpack everything in the beginning, then pack them up 1 or 2 pots at a time as the day goes by. And Barb has helped us out with that over the years. So.
I have a lot of Jim Kern's pots in my house, and they are beautiful. And as Jim says, over the years, his colors change, his style has changed a little bit. But his are functional pots that you can take home and use for whatever you want to. And Jim's a very sought after potter in our area, and at all shows. And I've gone to other shows that Jim has been at, and he's a well thought of and well respected potter. And we're lucky to have him.
Well, we appreciate his continued participation too. So it's wonderful to have such a renowned artist in the show. With the variety, you mentioned earlier that we've got some potters. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the other specific artists maybe that have been long-term artists with the show, in addition to pottery, that we might be able to see?
We have a lot of painters, I think, that have been with us for several years now. And there's a photographer, Honor, actually. She's from Cedar Falls. She's been in the show. I don't know if she's been there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a lot of local artists have been there, I think, from the beginning, which is really neat. You know, like I said before, that we have that opportunity to showcase that work that's here, you know, in our community.
So when the general public comes, they can expect to come downtown, find a spot to park, walk the parkade, and find a variety of artists. Can you tell me a little bit about price point? Because I know listening in at some of the committee meetings, that's been a discussion. What are some of the price points that people can find? Is there a piece of art for everyone?
Yeah, it's a very, very affordable show. We have paper products that can go from, you know, a reasonable amount of money to pots or paintings or photographs that can be in the higher end. But none of them are unaffordable. It's an affordable art show. It's an alternative to some other shows that bring in people that, I mean, $1,000 and up, and that's not true with this show. It's a hometown show, affordable show.
Will any of the artists be demonstrating what they're doing?
We're hoping so. Yeah. We hope sometimes they do. It depends. If it's a rainy day, it's definitely not a day for a potter to throw pots, and or watercolorists to show their parts, their pieces. But we also are having plein air painters, and these are painters from the Hearst Center, and they will be doing their art right on Main Street, and so you can actually see a piece being created as you're looking. And we also are giving out 2 awards, Award of Excellence. We've always given out ribbons for a number of categories, and this year we've decided we're going to zone in on 2, $150 each, and they'll be called Award of Excellence, and that'll cover any art form it's with us this day, and we have two jurors that will be picking those, two community jurors that will be picking those out.
We've talked a little bit, a lot today about the volunteers that make this happen, and some other partners that make this happen. Emily, can you tell me some of the partnering organizations that will be there? You mentioned the symphony, some of the entertainers, the Hearst Center for the Arts is another, and the Friends of the Hearst I know have been very involved. Can you tell me a little bit about what they do for Artapalooza?
Well, the Hearst Center is huge in the children's activities portion of the event. They have a whole booth area that they kind of set up in the 200 block, and that's where they do the face painting, and I think this year they're bringing some easels that they'll be setting up and letting people paint on those. And they actually have several people that are from the Hearst are on our committee. I know Merle Poland helps with the Pastella panel, and Penny Asbill helps with recruiting the merchants for the children's activities. So they not only provide that, sort of supporting partnership, but they provide actual people to help as well.
And I know one thing that Artapalooza does in exchange for the Hearst Center, and Jim, this might be of interest to you with budding potters and people that like to work with clay. Will you tell me a little bit about the tile project that the Hearst Center classes have been working on this summer? Yes,
the kids at the Hearst Center classes have been making these little tiles that are actually perfect size for coasters, and they are very beautiful in their own way. They've got little, they go out into the garden and they'll find things to press into them, or they'll create their own little design in the clay, and then they fire them, and then we actually sell them for $3 each, or you can get 2 for $5. And the Hearst Center uses that as a fundraiser for I think for the same activity again next summer.
Next summer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that a little competition for coming down the road.
Not at all. No, you always want to see those next generation of getting interested in the arts, and clay is a wonderful medium to explore. So sounds like fun. I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a great partnership. And again, this doesn't happen with just a few people. Can you tell me about the committee? And then also, Emily, I'd like you to talk about financially who makes this possible.
Sure. So we have several sponsors. L&M Transmission and Towing is our major sponsor this year, and then we also have the Cedar Falls Tourism Bureau and Hy-Vee, and then the Friends of the Hearst, as we mentioned earlier, and of course Community Main Street. Those are sort of the financial sponsors of the event, and then we also have our phenomenal committee led by our fearless leader over here.
Well, leader. We also have, used to be Barnes Builders, which is now
yes.
Builders Supply, and they cut the panels for the pastel panel, and also for the 350 small panels that tile that we're doing for the children's activities, and they gave us the materials and cut it to size, and so that's a nice community thing to have happen in Cedar
and
Falls.
Sherwin-Williams also donated the paint for that activity as well.
Yep, that's true.
Yep. Well, it sounds like it's quite a community collaboration led by Community Main Street and the team of volunteers, and we're lucky to have such a great group of artists that come to the show. So our time is about up, but is there any last minute words you'd like to say? I just have a quick thing at the end, but I'll let you go first, Barbara.
It's just that please come and visit us, and it's free. There's no admission, and enjoy the music, enjoy the art, enjoy the streetscape that we have preserved in downtown Cedar Falls. Saturday, September 6th from 9 to 4.
Okay, well, Barbara, thank you. You pretty much summed up the last of the show, so thank you all, and please hope to see you. Thank you.